Hi, it's such a pleasure to be with you here today on this really, really beautiful day. If you're working from home, I'm hoping you're able to be joining us from the garden, or at the very least, able to open up a window. First, I'd like to say a massive thank you to IPPR, not only for their support, but providing this platform. And without the support of Russell Brimlow from Lewis Silkin, Dr. David Gloomer from Cardiff University, Marie St. Louis, Leon Benjamin, and those who prefer to remain nameless, this project will remain just a good idea. So thank you. In the time that I have with you now, I'm going to do three things. Number one, I'm going to share with you why I think that this project is so important and the inspiration behind the project. Number two, I'm going to share with you key findings. And number three, I'm going to reveal the name of the companies and why they were voted the best. There has been quite a lot of support for the project in general. And I just wanted to share with you a few of the things that people have said. So Simon Albury, the chair for the campaign of broadcasting equality, said that this project was a perfect combination of the longest established leading minority ethnic grassroots organization, a center of academic excellence, and a leading law firm coming together to do essential work on employment standards, another step forward on the long walk to equality and fairness. The executive director of the Creative Diversity Network, Deborah Williams, said, "Our race and ethnicity deep dive report from last year identified some of the problems in the UK television at senior levels and in decision-making roles. I am pleased to see that the research is seeking to problem solve and hope it will add meat to the bones by identifying and highlights examples of good practice which can be spread through the industry and result in better representation." And Pat Young, a former creative officer at BBC and also the managing director of Cardiff Productions, also said, "A lot of attention is rightly paid to recruiting Black and Asian staff, but sadly, nowhere near enough work is paid into keeping them. The turnover rates for Black and Asian staff are depressingly high. And so a study like this into identifying workplaces that work for all of their employees is long overdue and welcome." It's long overdue and it's welcome. What great words, what great words. Now, for some of you who don't know me, I run an organization called the TV Collective. We're a networking resource and we champion, connect, and TV professionals of color with paid opportunities to the industry and each other. Last year, we worked with Channel 5, resulting in the broadcaster now working with 9 new production companies led by people of color. We're currently working with 51 leaders, all from Black and Asian communities, all nominated by their peers, and we're supporting them to take their next major step in their career. And in the autumn, we launched part 2 of the Accelerator program in collaboration with Channel 4, where a further 10 indies will be matched with commissioning heads to work together towards commission. Now, before starting the TV Collective, I used to work in TV production for a number of years, mainly on programs about the Black community. I was usually only the only one person of color or Black person on the team. I was always usually the most junior, so that means my opinions were rarely heard. And I was often told when I found characters, yes, that guy is good, he's really good, he's articulate, but he's just not gangster enough. The narratives all felt so much the same and not necessarily based in truth. I often wondered to myself whether these programs only existed to reinforce stereotypes that these producers already had about my community. I often felt just so conflicted. I asked my Black peers for advice, and they would say, keep quiet, because if I spoke up, it would damage my career. So I did. I kept quiet and I paid my mortgage. Now, one day, whilst on location, shooting yet another documentary about a spate of Black on Black crime, I received a call. It told me that my son had been taken to hospital and needed a minor operation. By the time I got to the hospital, I was told that he had died from a heart attack as a result of being held down by security guards, because when he woke from his operation, he was really agitated. I mean, seriously, I couldn't comprehend. What were they saying? He was 14. How agitated would he have needed to wake up that you would have needed to call security guards and that would have resulted in a heart attack? I just couldn't comprehend. I didn't understand. I was just so confused. Then suddenly the penny dropped. Now you see, they didn't see my son. They didn't see a frightened 14-year-old boy. They saw a thug. They saw a gangster. They saw one of the stereotypes that I had kept reinforcing in the programs that I had worked on. And from that moment, I decided that I would never keep quiet again. Over the last 15 years, I have dedicated my work to not only diversifying who makes decisions and the programs, but also ensuring that people of colour have ownership or at least a say in how we're portrayed. Now, I'm not going to lie, progress has been slow and there has been some small wins, but more often or not, it feels like people are more comfortable talking about the issue than taking real action. Then the tragic death of George Floyd happened. Apart from being really triggering, I was comforted by the global response. I was inspired by Black talent's bravery in sharing stories of discrimination that they had experienced working in TV. And I was hopeful about the promises and the pledges production companies and broadcasters made. The sheer intensity of the moment made me feel like change has finally arrived. Now, I'm in constant contact with talent of colour, looking for opportunities and sharing the stories of frustrations, the same frustrations that I had in TV so many years ago. I'm also in constant contact and being bombarded by calls from production companies wanting to diversify their talent teams, but they're still struggling. I wanted to know what was working, what companies were getting right, so I could use their success as an example. So with that in mind, may I present to you the best production company, the best broadcaster, and the company you would recommend to a friend. The study took about 8 months from its initial design to receiving data. It was framed by a quantitative survey crafted by a panel of experts. Survey participants were asked to evaluate their employees and other companies they worked for that stood out positively. The survey was distributed throughout the community and our networks, and 470 people responded. Respondents worked in either TV, all the respondents worked in TV at either a production company or a broadcaster. 44% of respondents were white, and 63% of them went to a state school, which could indicate that we were also capturing the experiences of the white working class. There was an overwhelming response, female response, suggesting the lack of men of colour working in the industry, particularly at mid-management or senior decision-making positions. 10% of our respondents had a disability, pointing to the importance of intersectionality. And nearly half of all people of colour who responded had worked in the industry for over 10 years, possibly making them more confident to participate in the study. The results were promising. They showed more and more companies having a clear diversity statement, and there seems to be more commitment from senior leaders. Over half of the companies provided clear Black Lives Matter statements, and 50% of respondents believed that they had been effective. And the story and the survey also indicated that people are feeling far more valued and able to bring their true selves to work and discuss issues pertaining to their ethnic identity. But so things are working, right? There's one major caveat. A staggering 60% didn't feel comfortable naming the companies they worked for, and only 16% of people of color named the production company, and only 19% their broadcaster. This means that the results I'm about to share with you are in the main based on respondents who've worked at their company for over 6 years, are in permanent full-time employment rather than a freelancer, and are slightly older, all indicating that these guys felt more comfortably to talk openly about the companies they worked for. During the test phase of the study, we noticed that there was some apprehension in naming companies because people feared being identified. So we decided to list the production companies under the group that they belong to, and the broadcasters, that rather than listing the individual departments or the programs they made, list all of that under the broadcaster that they belong to. In the hopes that we wouldn't identify where people worked or who they were. Obviously, this went very little to kind of alleviating the fear. And after all these years, people are still keeping quiet. So there's still work to be done, right? Now, I'm not in the business of sugarcoating issues. And where there's been improvement, the message is getting through. Diversity and inclusion is important, but the intention isn't matching the impact. I recently spoken to one of the respondents who as we were speaking to respondents, I interviewed one of them, and she gave me permission to air their frustrations. I recently worked on a huge and very popular production. It was a huge crew with hundreds, and the Black staff were pretty negligible. I remember the first time I heard one of the crew make a racist remark about one of the Black contributors they were filming openly with us in the room. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. They were laughing at the color of this person's skin. I quietly said to somebody whether anything was going to be done. Are they going to be reported? Surely this is unacceptable. How could we be working with people who were openly racist? And this is accepted and this was okay. I was told, oh, it happens every year. And like that was the end of that. According to our survey, out of those who experienced microaggressions, 77% were people of color. They went on to say that that would have never happened if there were more people of color working at senior positions. I have seen absolutely no Black series producers over my entire career, and my experience has taught me that the lack of trust, rarely being believed in, always been seen as a risk and made to feel lucky just because you've made it through the door. I've seen enough mediocre producers become series producers with no experience, yet simply because they were friends with the exec or they were being nurtured and promoted. Oh, they've got so much potential. We know, all right, we know they don't have editing experience, but we can support them with that. We just want to keep them in the company and help them grow. I've lost count the number of times that I've heard this being said about a white person, but to this day, I've never heard it being said about a person of color. 75% of our respondents said that they were none, a small number, or they were the only person of color working in the senior management team at their company. 61% of respondents said there was a small number to no people of color in their creative development teams. 42% of respondents that they hadn't received a promotion in the last 3 years. This drops to 20% from those from Black and Asian minority ethnic communities. 62% of respondents said they hadn't received a pay rise in the last 3 years, and that drops to 24% from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic backgrounds. 30% of respondents said that they felt their pay was comparable with their peers doing the same job, but 48% didn't know. They went on to say that the UK is so far behind when it comes to diversity inclusion, and willfully so. So they decided to look further afield, away from British soil. And it was the best thing, they say, that they've ever did. Things have all changed. The things I thought I couldn't ask for haven't done like work. I get a seat at the actual table. I'm a part of the senior leadership team. I'm on the board. I'm a decision maker. And for the first time ever in my career, real equality, real equity. I have the autonomy to hire my team. Black people are no longer seen as a silent minority. Culture is celebrated. Ideas from people of color are no longer labeled as irrelevant or niche. Everyone's culture is celebrated. Black content producers aren't sidelined or palmed off with short form content commissions. They are actively pursued. I am trusted, I'm supported because my employees see the value of properly investing all talent, no matter their background, and understand the importance of truly diverse teams because they have seen profitable returns. The requirement to be infallible is no longer a praying fear. I feel safe. I feel fulfilled. Is this how white people feel? For the first time in my career, I feel equal. Of the 35% who were happy to name the production company they worked at, 16% being people of color at production companies, and 19% who have worked at broadcasters, the companies that were selected, they were selected because they were the ones that were constantly mentioned as having positively progressed in each of the 3 areas that we were exploring: recruitment and retention, learning and development, and diversity and inclusion. May I present to you All Free Media voted Best Production Company and Group. ITV voted Best Broadcaster. And ITV again voted company that you would most recommend to your friend. Respondents felt that these 2 companies demonstrated buy-in at senior management. People felt valued and comfortable to be fully themselves when they went to work. As the industry as a whole struggles and tackles the frozen middle, transparency around wages, and more importantly, creating an environment where people are not afraid to speak up, these 2 companies have made a respectable start. Change is one of the only things that are constant in life. And it really only happens when we decide to take action. So I hope that this study has demonstrated the many ways that you can take action in your organizations and where you work. And the stories that I've shared have inspired you to actually take action. We all should be thriving and striving to work in organizations where voices are heard, culture is thriving, and all employees, no matter the background, are engaged. See, the happier the employer, the better the content, the bigger the profit. The full report is now already out. If you're interested, please contact me. And the TV Collective, we are a community interest company, and we are always looking to work with like-minded people committed to taking action and making a change. If you are interested in hearing more about our work and ways that you can support, or you even want to get involved in Best Places to Work 2022, please get in touch. Thank you all for listening.